The search for America's best cake decorators is on.
All right. I'm going to be making a quarter sheet cake that is just a standard rectangular cake. We're not going to shape it, cut it, or mold it because that's not what we do. My cake shop is not a novelty cake shop, and we just stick to classic shapes. This is going to be a buttercream cake with a little bit of fondant work to it. Fondant isn't a very desired texture in the mouth, and so we try to steer away from using it too much, just for little decor here and there. I think I'm going to need 45 minutes plus for this cake, only because this cake isn't shaped. It's just a perfect rectangular shape and it has corners. And to make buttercream have corners is not the easiest thing to do.
The quarter sheet is going to be shaped into a wedding dress with gum paste flowers, and then I'm going to have an ombre kind of look fading up. Shaping the cake definitely adds dimension because dresses aren't square, so you kind of make it more lifelike in a way by shaping those corners and making it really feel like this is really a dress. It's definitely a simple thing to add and it makes a big difference.
So I'm going to make, out of the quarter sheet, I'm going to carve it down and do a giant present. The techniques on the gift cake are going to be, for the most part, just keeping a really crisp box. Square cakes are definitely a little bit harder to ice than rounds are, so I feel like just making sure that everything's really crisp and straight will be kind of the biggest technique. Typically we go quite a bit heavier on our fillings, but since this doesn't have like as much time to set in the fridge and get quite a bit more sturdy, I'm going a little bit lighter just so it doesn't sag out the sides.
This quarter sheet is vanilla and chocolate swirled marble cake, and it has a layer of chocolate ganache and a layer of pastry cream, and this is what we call our marble eclair cake. This is actually for my sister's birthday, so this is dedicated to her and inspired by her as well. Happy birthday, Jing. The buttercream is working out really well. I just love working with our buttercream. It's very easy to apply and smooth out. Some of the pitfalls of using buttercream is you can't really manipulate it as much as you can with fondant, but it is a very good base for it because you don't want to just bite into a cake with just covered with fondant.
The buttercream's a little bit soft, so it's a little bit hard to work with, and the corners are drooping a little bit, but it's because I didn't have much time to refrigerate the sheet cake after it's been crumb coated, but it's workable. What makes it difficult is making the corners from the buttercream. A lot of square cakes are more difficult to do, trying to keep all the corners a perfect 90-degree angle. It's almost like you're taking like toothpaste and making corners from it, which is really difficult.
So the buttercream has to be a certain temperature to spread it smoothly, and so mine got pretty stiff because it's kind of cold in here. I'm gonna melt my icing a little more. Take my torch. I call it torching. We use these like propane torches, and it's the easiest way to get your icing the exact consistency you want it to be. It's my favorite method. This cake is gonna be purely buttercream. There's not gonna be any fondant on this cake.
Unless we have to do like a huge cake, a full color, like an 8-tiered cake, we color all of our own fondant just because you can get the shades quite a bit more custom, especially on those weddings where people are really picky about, you know, sage green and not hunter green. I would say most decorators have a hard time with fondant when it's too thick, and I think that's also a reason a lot of people are sort of turned off by fondant is bad experiences they've had with cakes that have like, you know, an inch thick coating of fondant, because you really don't need that much. I mean, you just want it to cover the cake, have a little bit of room so it hides any flaws, and that's it. You don't want a super thick, huge layer.
This is just the base of the cake. I'm going to put another layer of fondant over it because it is going to be a book. It's going to look like a journal when it's done. I think the most difficult part of making this quarter sheet is making sure everything is measured out correctly. Hopefully I could get the fondant sheeted out and cut to the size that I need it to be If it isn't the right size, I might have to stretch the fondant a little bit, and that might, be a little hairy, but we'll see how that goes.
I decided on the colors just because I wanted something really, maybe not so girly, since I feel like that's kind of what a lot of the present cakes sort of come out like. So I just wanted to do something really fun that was bright and just kind of cheerful. You don't really see a lot of teal, orange, and yellow, especially kind of more neon shades, but neons are really big right now too, so I just want to do something kind of trendy and kind of on point for color season. I feel like that's a cool color combo that you don't see very much. I feel like I'm doing pretty good on time, yeah. Got the majority of my kind of big stuff covered and the bow done, so now it's just gonna be some little decor and a border, and that's pretty much it. I feel like I'll be right on the money.
I think that my OCD is working against me because I'm trying to finish the cake, but I see crumbs on the table, and my first instinct is to clear the cake crumbs off the table rather than finishing my cake on time. Yeah, I think I'm in not a good situation because of my perfectionism. So I guess I am a perfectionist. I am ambidextrous, so it comes in handy when I decorate cakes.
With these intricate shaped cakes, carving the cardboard off can be a little challenging. I wish I was an ambidextrous. Come on. I'm going for the ombre look. Ombre is a slow fading of darker colors to light. My main concern with this guy is that I'm not gonna have enough flowers. These flowers are made out of gum paste. Just cut them all out on a little gum paste board to give them some shape. Egg crates are the best thing ever when it comes to these. The leaves can just curl around and it just dries perfectly. Oh, these are gonna break. Oh, no. That's not exactly how I planned that to go. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough gum paste right now.
So I've added this green fondant to make it look like a leather and use the stitching wheel to enhance the edges a little bit so it looks kind of like stitched leather. I really want it to look very vintage and organic and pretty. Little details like this I think are very important to the design of the cake and to customers. It just shows that we care about the appearance of all these tiny little details, and it's just very enjoyable to look at too. When you have fine details like that, it just makes the cake more interesting to look at.
So at 25 minutes, I'm in a little bit of a rush, but I've got the top covered, which is my main concern. I didn't make enough flowers, so I'm pretty nervous, but I have some extra gum paste. I'm rolling it out. It is wearing a little thin, but I think I can make it. I'm gonna cover the top of the cake with layers of ribbon overlapping so that it kind of looks more like a dress. There isn't really an exact pattern I'm using right now. I'm just going for the freehand. It's definitely gonna be tight, but I'm pretty sure I can make it. I'll make it.
I think what makes this cake stand out is that it uses patterns that is kind of eye-catching. I think the eye likes to see certain shades that kind of complement each other, and since this is 2 shades of green and white, it's very simple, but it looks appealing because there's a pattern to it. I wanted to have 3 rows of the polka dots, but I can only fit 2, and if I add another layer, it's gonna look a little oversaturated. I'm just trying to see what it would look like if I were to do a border piping at the bottom, and I don't think that's a good look, so I'd rather try it out on the board before doing it on the cake.
We sort of do all of our cakes for the most part just in a beaded border to seal it up unless it doesn't fit the design. It just is really simple and doesn't take away from a lot of the decor, and sometimes when you get into really thick like shell piping or kind of the more dated look, it kind of takes away from it, but I think that with the beaded it's just really simple, really small, and just kind of seals it up really nicely. Last touches are just the yellow polka dots. I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol on them to hold the edible glitter so it gives it a little bit of sparkle, and then that's just kind of my last details of putting them around the cake and then taking my brush and kind of working any cornstarch off to give it a clean look.
I'm doing a little bit of a mix so I could kind of make this book a little bit older looking. One-dimensional colors, like just 1 shade of green, is kind of a downfall of some decorators because it doesn't allow the product to look very real, and the food coloring that we get commercially is a very one-dimensional shade of green. So we typically have to add brown to it, some yellow, some red. I am rushing myself just a little bit now. I still have a few more minutes or even seconds to just put some final touches that will make it even more beautiful.
All right, all done. I was going for 3D, especially since it's a shaped cake. So many cakes tend to look flat. This one definitely pops out. No, overall, I'm really happy. I like how everything came out. I know things could have gone a different way, but overall, I'm very happy.
Color is very important to all cakes because it catches your eye, and we eat with our eyes first, and so if it catches your eye, then people will want to eat it.
I executed the cake as well as I could and how I imagined it going. So I think that I don't think I would have done anything differently.
I'm happy with the cake. I think it's obviously, I'd like to do more to it, but for the most part, I like the color, contrast. I think the bow came out really nice, and yeah, I think I'm really happy with it. I would want that present.